Sup, FaceTube. So, thinking about a lot of stuff. This just came in my mind. I was gonna make a video about white privilege, but I'm gonna do this instead. Maybe I can tie it in. Incarceration system. That's what I want to talk about. And it really just validates the person that they're arresting. That's a huge reason why there's so much recidivism, whatever. People like repeat offenders. Um, it punishes people. It's called the Department of Corrections, but it's not meant to correct people at all. It's meant to punish you. It's not a system designed to help anyone except itself. It's an AI program, you could even call it. So, how does it validate you? Like, how does punishing someone validate them? Well, they call it the Department of Corrections. It's there to punish you, it's not there to help you. Okay? Like, that's the purpose of it. And it's kind of like saying, like, it's using fear as a control tool, you could say, but it's more over of a. It's validating you. It's saying, when you want to course correct, you punish. And people who are in there, like, are in there because of domestic issues, a lot of domestic issues. Spiritual reactions. People not knowing how to deal with their emotional reactions. Um, and it's a system, yeah, Jews, whatever, because they have Torah, which is law, and they're basically the ones upholding morality as law, which is really like what Torah is. Torah is upholding God's morality as law. Law is like a God, it is a concept that humans created. We have free will. Like, there is like law, like anarchy. Like, that's why anarchy exists. Um, so, when you punish someone to correct them, and yet the criminals are in there for, trying to solve conflicts using negative emotions, you could say. Okay, like that's why criminals are in there, is because they're trying to use negative emotions to correct something. um, and that's basically what punishment is. Punishment is trying to use negative emotions to correct behavioral patterns. Okay, and so you're setting the example, so the incarceration system is setting the example to correct people's problems that they have with, like, themselves, with the relationships, with the system. Okay, is using negative emotion, punishment. Same thing with war. Okay, like, you got conflicts in the Middle East. Well, they're called conflicts, and they condition people that you solve conflicts by pulling triggers. Okay, and like, that's what people do in relationships. They trigger each other's emotions. Okay, when trying to resolve conflicts. That's why there's so much war on the planet. That's why it manifests the way it does, because of how it works in the spiritual realm. Okay, in the emotional, in the world of emotional intelligence, how humans, like, pull triggers, our emotional triggers, towards each other. Projection. That's what projection is. In our relationships. Okay. So, obviously it doesn't work. There's lessons to be learned there. Okay. Um, so let's see here. And that's what the incarceration system is, though. It's a different version of using negative emotions to course correct, um, to resolve conflicts, disputes. So, like that's it doesn't work. It's not a system that works. It causes problems. It's causing problems. That's why there's so much protest. It's because that system. It's the police force. Like they're the ones out there, like pulling the triggers within the collective consciousness. Okay, and like they should be more on the people's side. Like that's a huge problem. That's why there's a separation between military and police. Okay, like I'm not a huge supporter of either of the two, but if it wasn't for all the veteran suicide that was going on like years ago, it still goes on today. Um, you wonder who'd be speaking. The police don't uphold free speech. They're not the ones going to war to uphold, the American Constitution, blah blah blah. The police force is a different force. Okay, the people that go to other countries to like fight wars are protecting the same people that are the enemies to inner city police, I'll say. And so that's why there's a split. You don't really find too much of, ex-military coming back to the U.S. to work for the State Department. Okay, like that's why that's not a big crossover actually, like less than what you would probably think. Because like they're going over there to serve, to fight in war to like protect you. Like you think like, some like they would come back and like, be in the police, be in the State Department police force, but it's vast majority, more than you would think though. So that's the problem. Like that's a huge problem with the system is how the incarceration system just validates, war. It's really what it is. The incarceration system is validating using negative emotions to resolve conflict by punishing people in putting them on a shelf. And like, like there's a science, like how do you put someone on a shelf and make money off of it? There's so many systems that depend on the incarceration system. It's like stuff, and it's modern slavery is all it is. Like the way pharmaceutical companies get like subsidies, they get, an inmate has to be clothed, they have to be fed. So you got farming, okay. You've got, like they make constantly making new clothes because like the inmates are wearing clothes that wear down, okay. So, and then you have, like the legal system, lawyers, judges. So this is like, it's all the different parts of the economy involved just in the incarceration system alone. Okay, it's like this. It's like the country or the state makes more money off of you being in jail than if you were like, let's say a doctor or a lawyer. Okay, and like that's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. Okay, like when the state makes more money off of you, like being like locked, confined to a cell, because like you're a living being. Okay, like you need to be taken care of. And there's money that's involved in that. So, the education system is a completely different system altogether. I don't want to talk about that one right now, but it's a completely different system. That's why I was talking in one of my other videos where I talk about America is a system that is just a melting pot of all of these other systems. That's really what communism is. It's called communism because it's from the perspective of the people who like exist above it. Okay, like Nazi Germany, like that's communism. People living in communes. It's the way subcultures work in America. Okay, like those are like the social communes that are like we're all free and like we're all walking around together, but like we can be very socially and culturally isolated still. Social media just makes it worse actually. Um, but like that's really what communism is. People like Elon Musk, Trump, those people are like the communists, and like we're living in their commune. Okay. So that's really what communism is. It's a bunch of different social classes living in one system, I guess. That's what America is. America is it's more communism is coming to America, and so like that's the problem with all these free speech laws. So like when you start arresting people for like free speech stuff, you're just validating the use of physical force against language. Like words are nothing. Words are nothing. Okay, like when I'm gonna blow up. Okay, like the mist in my breath when I speak is more lethal to you than the words through the intelligence and logic that I'm communicating in that broken water that comes out of my mouth every time we speak. The mist in our breath. That's how diseases are spread, etc. Okay, our words are only as strong as our reaction to them. Okay, like words are nothing. Okay, like I'm going to slap you in the face with words like across the screen, like and you're not going to be like, oh, like no, like that's not going to happen. Anyways, so words are nothing. The only power that words have is our reaction to them, and that's what meditation is for. Okay, because meditation really teaches you how to focus. What you do with that focus is up to you. Using it for spiritual progression, self-reflecting, self-awareness, practicing things like that. Yes, that is great. Okay. But if you want to use it for like manifesting a pumpkin pie out of the thin air, or a Ford Lamborghini, whatever, like is that a good use of, free will? Okay. Like, maybe you should be like meditating on like healing the planet and stuff like that. Because it's all one. So like visualization meditation has just as much of an impact on physical reality, as like, physical action. Okay. Like imagine if everybody in the world just meditated, together. Okay. Like maybe the world would be a better place. So, when you start validating like physical force against like words, like you're heading for a total collapse. Like that's really what's going on right now, but on a deeper level, okay, it's the system. They know Christ is manifesting itself onto the planet from within the planet right now. And the system, the matrix, it wants to hear the spoken word, but in the way it wants to hear it, because it thinks if it can make the spoken word happen the way it wants to, instead of how the spoken word would manifest naturally, okay, is tongues of fire. It's what the Pentecost is. They think they're God. They think they're God if they can control how Christ manifests itself onto the planet. That's what some of this is. They want to hear the spoken word, but within the framework that they provide. Okay, that's what all this like on social media, like, some of the stuff you can and can't say on social media is ridiculous. It's asinine. Asinine is a great word. Asinine. Say it with me, asinine. Okay, like go look it up. I don't think YouTube's gonna ban me for saying that word. So I guess that's it. All this social crackdowns on and it's different systems are trying to take over America right now. And it's going to go through each one. Each one is going to be allowed to like do its thing. And then after that happens, America will be reborn and things will start getting better. Things will start getting better. You see, I'm not a fearmonger, but things are going to get worse before they get better. And until people start getting right with God, like, you're not ready. You're not ready for an all-out Armageddon apocalypse until you get right with God. That's really it. So I guess I'll end it there. That's how you prepare for an apocalypse. That's why Revelations in the Bible is about the apocalypse. Because it's the revelations we have about ourselves that brings about our internal apocalypse first. The apocalypse happens in the minds of humans first. And then physical Armageddon.